Hey guys, just finished watching Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5, Episode 16, Inside Voices. Wow, what an episode. So first off, we start off with this. We get Absorbing Man. Hale is giving Absorbing Man the gravitonium, and he ends up touching it, and it starts setting off some sort of like hallucinations. He started getting visions from Professor Gravitonium, or the guy who from early on from Season 1 who fell into it when and they were at the Quinn's party type thing at the beginning of the season, the beginning of the show in the first season. So when we find out the gravitonium is still alive and is actually a person inside of there, he starts getting those dreams and stuff and the visions and stuff. And then we get Yo-Yo. We see Yo-Yo trying out her new arm, punching the punching bag and stuff, and Max talking to her, and Daisy decides to go to find Robin to figure out where Coulson is. And then Simmons ends up telling Yo-Yo that Deke is her grandson. And Simmons wants to break Fitz out, which they end up succeeding. And then Yo-Yo tries to get Mac out. Tries to get Mac to let Fitz out. That doesn't work. So then Simmons plays a game of fate with some kind of alcohol and some acid and some water, and mixing it all up, not knowing which one is which, and drinking the wrong ones, letting fate decide which ones she drinks, and fate will make sure she only drinks the water and not the acid. And it looked like it failed, but then it ends up working. But they use it as an opportunity to trick Mac and letting Fitz out to save her when she pretends to freak out that she drank the acid. And then they use that to put Mac in away and stuff. And it was a really great scene. And then Yo-Yo with her new arms goes to pick up a gun, and it just fires off, and it misses both Fitz and Simmons, and it was just so great of a scene. It actually has a 10 out of 10 so far on this episode. Has 10 out of 10 on IMDb here, just unheard of. It's really great. It was such a great scene, especially the tension between everyone. It was such a interesting scene. It was so fun. And then on top of that, she picks up the gun and it just fires off and it misses everyone, completely confirming that time is locked in place and nothing is going anywhere. So it's an interesting idea to play with that. Now on the other hand, I was thinking about it. They think they're all invincible. I mean, Yo-Yo knows she is because she's seen herself, whereas Fitz and Simmons are not sure because they haven't seen themselves. They didn't see themselves in the future. Deke doesn't know them, and Deke doesn't even know when they died. At least he doesn't say it yet, whether or not he knows. Oh, they died specifically on this. 2025 or 2050 or 2080 or whatever, or 3000. When are they gonna die? Type thing. So that's really going to be cool to play with that idea. And also the idea, I was thinking about the idea how if they both think that they're invincible because they still have to they give birth to Deke's mother, and then eventually have create Deke and all that stuff. But if they never get pregnant, if they hold off on getting pregnant and they push that off into the future because that's their time, where after that their fate is no longer done. As soon as Simmons has the kid, has Deke's mother, then their fate is kind of no longer locked in place because their mother's alive, and there we go. And then the mother's fate is the one who becomes locked in history until she has Deke type thing. So I think that's really going to be a cool idea to play with that. If we later on end up getting Simmons actually being pregnant, because when she found out that Deke was her grandson, she did throw up. But we haven't gotten anything since then. Nothing teasing that, and nothing even hinting at that. So that could have just been her probably just reacting to the situation that Deke is her is her grandson type thing. So I think that could have been that. But the idea of having her pregnant, I think, like I've been saying, I think it could be an interesting idea to play with. But like I said, if they push it off too far, if they decide not to, if they keep pushing up, they're not ready to, they realize that once they get pregnant, then, and once they give birth, once Fitzsimmons gives birth to Deke's mother, then they're no longer safe and invincible type thing up until that point. So pushing it off too much could alter history, could alter this stuff and change things. I think that's really an idea to play with, to see how things kind of end up going. But I guess at the same time, as long as unless they never sleep together for the rest of their life, things will happen. Even if they try not to have a kid, they're probably going to accidentally have a kid, and that kind of set things up, be locked in time type thing, locked fate type thing. So I think it's going to be interesting to see that idea, them, maybe not wanting to even sleep together or not wanting to get in bed together, afraid of accidentally getting pregnant, and then causing that to being the time where things go ahead, and being Deke's mother, and then that kind of making them no longer invincible. So I think the idea of that, it could be interesting to play with, and the idea of also playing with that in a way like where what if Simmons gets pregnant but then loses a child, somehow, what if multiple times. I mean, Deke says he doesn't remember anything about his mother or about his grandparents, scars or anything like that, and it's interesting the way they're playing with time travel, because we open this with Deke and Simmons, and she's asking him about any scars or any missing limbs or any big things that she should know about. But then when he offers to talk about his mother, she says, no, I don't want to know anything about her, it's best not to know too much. So it doesn't make sense as to someone like her. She's so smart. Why is she kind of asking so much about herself? Is she going to lose a limb? Is she going to lose a foot, lose a hand, lose a finger, lose a scar? Have any scars, that big scars to look out for? Why is she asking about those? Then finding out about her granddaughter, it could mess up. I don't understand how if she stops herself from losing a finger, like she's supposed to lose a finger, or she's supposed to lose a hand, she's supposed to lose a foot, whatever. She shouldn't know about those things because it's going to mess up time. But yet knowing little things about her daughter is a bit much, because it could mess up time. I just don't see the difference, now. If he knows, if he starts telling her exactly what his daughter has to do and what his daughter, must do and all that stuff, then different ideas. But, just finding out what type of person her daughter is not going to, I don't see how that could mess up time as much as, it would be for Deke to say, oh yeah, my grandfather had a scar on his cheek, a big scar across his face, or, he lost an eye, or he, started going deaf at a certain age, and, at a really young age, or he lost a foot, or lost a finger, or lost a hand, or whatever type thing, had a robotic leg, robotic arm, or whatever. Those things could change things a lot, especially if if things like that are supposed to happen but then don't happen. So I don't understand to see where things are going with that and how they play with time a little bit more, just to kind of tell us and talk to us a bit more and kind of explain to us why, what information they can do and how they can. I mean, with so many other comic book TV shows playing with time, with Legends of Tomorrow, and they also do it on The Flash. Playing with time and finding out how to change history and how much you can, how much you can't and stuff. I think that's an interesting idea to play with over on this show. I just wish they'd be a little bit more direct about it and kind of be more consistent, just because in that one scene it seemed to be two different consistencies, and not really consistent in that one scene for how time's going to play out. And then, so after Yo-Yo almost shoots Simmons and stuff, and fate kind of shows us that they are safe, Absorbing Man ends up bringing Coulson back to life when the Absorbing Man tries to brings Coulson out and tries to find Talbot. And the three of them try to escape, and then in the mix of that, one of the robot guards in Hydra punches Coulson, stopping his heart. So then Absorbing Man just touches him, turns magnetic, and turns into metal, and kind of conducts some electricity and brings him back to life, type thing. And that was really cool seeing that. And then we see Coulson and Talbot use the teleporter to escape and appear somewhere else on Earth. Now that other place does look a lot like the I think it was at the bunker from season 1, when we found out that, just after we found out that Ward was Hydra, where we had, I think I forget his name, but one of the Koenig brothers, the first one we met, that Ward ends up killing and stashing in the ceiling, and then there was that day and night changing picture that Daisy had scratched into Ward as Hydra. This kind of snow set looked a lot familiar to that idea when they had to. They were in the desert, and they were in the snow looking for someone, And they had like a secret, I think there was a secret like gun that came out, and when they showed the badge, and it shot it type thing. I think that was an interesting idea. The coordinates, I think, were actually in, if we're not mistaken, were in the badge that Fury had given to the Coulson type thing. And I really think that was a really cool idea, and I'm hoping that this is kind of similar to that, near that idea, that secret base, where the whole Hydra ward thing went down. I think that was a cool idea. I definitely can't wait to see where things go with that in next week's episode. And then at the end here, with the last scene we see after we come back from the last commercial break, is we find out that Quinn was sucked into the gravitonium. Now this is interesting because this whole episode we've been going through and be seeing Crusher Creel, Absorbing Man, going through and seeing flashbacks to the first guy who was affected by and fell into the gravitonium. But why didn't Creel also get memories of Ian Quinn? Why didn't he have some of those memories there? So it's kind of unclear to see how things are going. Obviously, it looks like this. The original guy is the one controlling this stuff. Maybe he's the one inside of this, inside of the thing, gaining the powers. But I just don't see how it would make more sense to me that the gravitonium would give Creel everyone's memories, Quinn's memories, the other guy's memories, both memories. I think that's going to be interesting to see how things kind of go with that, and that was going to be cool to see. If for Quinn, the gravitonium wanted to suck him in, but for Absorbing Man, he wanted to touch it. So, and it was unclear to see. It's going to be cool to see where things go with that, if that becomes someone. And if I'm not mistaken, that character from the first season, that the professor who created it, the gravitonium, when he falls into it in the comic books, he becomes Gravitron, someone who can, an evil supervillain who can change gravity and all that stuff. So I think that could really be cool. I definitely can't wait to see where things continue on from here. So all in all, this episode was pretty cool. It was a really good episode, especially with the whole Fitz reveals and stuff, and and Simmons, reveals and Fate and stuff, telling Yo-Yo, telling different people. Hopefully they start telling people more where things are going. I definitely can't wait to see how things are going to turn out, especially with Fitz and Daisy's relationship. I think that's going to be cool to see that. I'm hoping that kind of when Coulson comes back, that he kind of lets Fitz out. Maybe how Fitz starts kind of proving himself, how he's, the Simmons and you let Fitz out and they go and they stop stuff, and it actually ends up saving a lot of stuff, saving the Earth type thing. I think that could be a cool idea to kind of bring back Fitz to everyone. Now, obviously, I think it's going to take a lot for Daisy to ever forgive him, and I don't think she would forgive him for that. But I could see her being, when Coulson gets back, maybe being one of the few people to really have a grudge against him type thing. And I think that could be cool to play with, because at the end of the day, like he said, he did get jobs done. He did save the world type thing by closing. by giving her powers back so she could close the portal. So I think that was an interesting idea to play with. It's going to be cool to see where things go with this. And it looks like in next week's episode, if I'm not mistaken, we're episode 16. We still have a few more episodes. 16. Yeah, we're going to 22. So we still have a good 4 plus 2, 6 episodes left for this season. So that's really going to be cool to see where things go for all that. And again, we do need our connecting episode for this. Before we get a connecting episode for this, that is when I'm excited. It's really going to be fun to see where things go from here and how things kind of connect to the rest of the season, and when do we get a connecting episode for this. Again, I keep on wanting to have them somewhat involved, whether they're just fighting an army of Thanos. I think it could be really cool. Maybe just having Coulson pop up on the screen. And again, with all this dying and stuff like that, I hope he doesn't. Obviously, I really hope he doesn't die. Especially if they're just about to bring him back into the MCU with Captain Marvel. Although we know that that's entirely a flashback. flashback, but it's going to be all taking place in the 90s. We could get some flash forward at the end of it that kind of, with Coulson alive, hanging out with Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury. So I think that could be really cool to seeing some connections there going into Avengers 4. So they could be cool. So we'll have to wait and see where things go from here. I think it's going to be fun to see how things all turn around. But on its own, this episode was pretty cool. It was a pretty good episode. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys, with this episode. Where do you think things are going from here? And I think it's going to be cool to see where things go in next week's episode, because it looks like we're going to get Daisy versus Dove Cameron, which is Ruby. And I think that's going to be really, really cool, because everyone calls Daisy the world killer in the future. But maybe it's Dove Cameron's the world killer. Ruby's actually the world killer, and she wants to be the world killer. But just Daisy was there during the fight, so maybe that's how the wrong person gets blamed in history for it. But it was actually Dove Cameron's character Ruby, and I think that could be cool to play with that. But Ruby, at the end of the day, doesn't have any powers that could crack the world in half, yet Daisy does. So I think that's going to be cool to see where things go with that. And if she ends up not doing that, how does that break the time loop, break the stuff, and then if they break the time loop, do things get reset? Is it a shockwave throughout time, kind of like Flashpoint, how Barry goes back in time, changes his mother, and it doesn't just affect, in the comic books, it didn't just affect Barry, it also affected Superman, affected Batman, affected all kinds of history throughout time. So I think that's really going to be cool to see where things go with that. I know in the comic books, Yo-Yo does have these robot arms, so I'm not sure if things like that, if the world ends up not getting cracked by Daisy or by Ruby and getting destroyed, then does that send a shockwave throughout time, changing it and reversing what's her face Yo-Yo's arms from getting cut? I hope not, because then it would kind of take away a lot of the things we've done. But I mean, at the same time, it could be an interesting idea to see where things go with that. Does it also affect? Imagine if Daisy doesn't, the world ends up not breaking, and they end up not end up breaking the time loop, or the breaking fate type thing. Then I could see Deke kind of fading into existence, and that changing their whole way of life. I think that could be an interesting idea. Kind of, it doesn't set up Deke's future. Deke's future becomes an obsolete reality, and I think that's going to be an interesting idea to play with that going into Avengers Infinity War, setting everything up back to the way it was type thing, without the dark future type thing. So I think it's all in all, it's going to be cool to see where things go from here. We still have the invasion coming on, so that's really going to be fun. I really hope we get to see this show obviously kind of bring back for a season 6. I think that would definitely be fun, especially with Captain Marvel and Coulson, Clark Gregg currently filming as we speak on the show. So I can't wait to see how we get a connecting episode for that, and hopefully, the reason why Disney, didn't let ABC cancel the show is because they hadn't planned for the Captain Marvel movie. And I'm hoping at the end or at the beginning or whatever, we get some sort of modern reveal of Coulson. I think that could be a cool idea to see that going into another season or something like that. It could be quite fun to see that. So it could be interesting to see, because it would be interesting to see. I've been thinking about this with this show, is how come we haven't seen any fallout from Black Panther. Now there was Black Panther happened in Wakanda. They're in other places, other side of the earth, really not interacting with each other. I get that, but the after effects of Wakanda, with them having their vibranium just kind of being shared with the public, we would be cool to see that and to see get an idea as to going into Avengers Infinity War. What knowledge, how much has Wakanda changed the world since Black Panther movie, and see that progress. And as Wakanda starts sharing their stuff out, it would be cool to see things, even if it's just a flash on TV. It's just like, oh wow, Wakanda this, Wakanda that, and also would be cool to see Absorbing Man, if Hydra's able to get a hold of some vibranium, or if Coulson has some vibranium. You know, I imagine he'd be able to get his hands on some if, as they're starting to share stuff, or even if Talbot could get some hold of stuff, and then seeing him absorb some vibranium, that could be a really cool idea, and that would also bring him a little bit bigger of a villain. Because right now I feel like Absorbian, he's a great character and he's pretty cool on his show, but I don't feel like he's Hulk level like he should be in the comic books. So I don't feel like Incredible Hulk in the same universe would even stand a chance against him. I mean, Hulk would just step on him and he'd be gone, you know. So we'll have to wait and see where things go with the rest of this. But all in all, this episode on its own was a really good episode. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Season 5, episode 16. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes subscribing is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?